what they needed to do to protect the government institutions that were affected. And so, again, there were periodic assessments as we were learning more through the process. It was additional detail. It also allowed us to note that we weren't seeing certain things that we were concerned about. And so the intelligence community assessment that was done in December, published in January, was the culmination of the work, the assessment, the collection that had taken place in the months before.
For the record, it's of concern to me that there was a 2-month lag for the administration to direct the DNI to produce a comprehensive report when this was publicly acknowledged as an issue months earlier during the year. I want to touch upon the previous administration's actions on December 29th in response to the Russian government's harassment of U.S. officials and cyber operations, which declared persona non grata 35 Russian intelligence operatives and the closure of 2 Russian compounds in the U.S. Did you recommend any action to the administration prior to December 29th or prior to the November election?
I wasn't recommending. We had discussed what different options might be.
So let me ask, did you suggest or present different options prior to the election or prior to December 29th to the administration?
That's something that could be discussed in a closed setting.
Thank you. My time has expired, or is about to, and I yield back.
Mr. Hurd, 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Director Brennan, I would like to join my colleagues in thanking you for your years of service, some of which we overlapped in the CIA, and I hope you are enjoying not getting late calls at night. And you look fresh. My first question, and I apologize in advance for asking some questions about what did you know when at certain times. I have difficulty remembering what happened this morning, but nonetheless, I'm going to continue. In 2016, was collecting intelligence on foreign entities' attempts to influence our election a collection priority?
And when was that?
Last year in 2016.
It was a collection priority, yes.
It was.
Yeah.
So does that fall under the broader counterintelligence collection priorities of the CIA?
Yes, counterintelligence as well as Russia collection efforts.
What is ops intel?
It's operational intelligence that is not maybe formally disseminated as intelligence to the community, but it is something of operational value to, for example, an investigation.
So prior to the full accounting that happened in December 2016 of we're going to do a complete intelligence assessment, was there any ops intel that was used or changed into intelligence actually disseminated to the broader community during that assessment?
There was an effort to make sure that all relevant intelligence that needed to be tapped for the drafting of this intelligence assessment was made available to the appropriate individuals, yes.
So is it your understanding that there was information that was in operational channels that wasn't available to the entire analytical community and that was included in that December, ultimately the report that was dated January 6th?
I think and again I would defer to the folks at the agency, that classified intelligence report is exceptionally well documented and sourced. And just because something is produced as an intelligence report, it doesn't mean that it goes to everybody in the community. There are recipient lists for that, and depending on the sensitivity of the information, it is either broadly disseminated or very narrowly disseminated.
One of the issues that this committee is focused on is figuring out what was the U.S. government's response to these Russian active measures, and what do we need to do to protect ourselves and our allies in the future. And one of my concerns is, did we escalate soon enough, quickly enough? Did we notify those that were being targeted soon enough? And did we recognize the intelligence or the information that we had access to at the time that it was actually collected? And so my question is, knowing what you know now, would you have directed the CIA to do things differently?
You know, I've asked myself that question. I feel as though we tried to do everything that we could to fulfill our responsibilities, which was to learn as much as we could about the Russian efforts, because we didn't know, again, the extent of it. And so we had to be very careful about what we did so that we would protect certain capabilities in the community as a whole, as well as to try to assess what was happening. Kept the executive branch seniors informed, National Security Council informed, the Gang of Eight informed. And so, 2020 hindsight is always, I think a lot maybe clearer to some folks. That's what I think this committee and the other committee and the Senate is going to take a look at. Was it perfect? I don't think anything in this world is perfect, but I think we tried to do the best job that we could.
So is the intelligence community prepared or ready to counter covert action directed against us, or direct measures, as the Russians like to call that? How do we develop a strategy to counter covert action against us? And I only have 7 seconds, so I know that's difficult.
And that's why it's easy for me to say is refer to closed session as well as to current agency and other officials.
Good copy. I yield back, Chairman.
I do want to take this opportunity to say that I misspoke earlier in response to Mr. Gowdy. I was at CIA headquarters on the morning of January 20th. I went there to collect some final personal materials, as well as to pay my last respects to our memorial wall. But I was there for a brief period of time, and just to take care of some final things that were important to me.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Well, Mr. Burton, thank you very much. We're at the end of our open hearing. Our committee is charged with answering some really important questions. As several of my colleagues have said, the ultimate success of the Russians' disinformation campaign and/or active measures lies with the American citizens, and whether or not they're successful or not is up to us as citizens to not let that happen. A part of that is how well we inform them of what happened and where, when, and what, all those kind of good things. And so thank you for being a part of that exercise this morning. We intend to have a closed session that will start in about 30 minutes downstairs in the spaces. We've got sandwiches available for you if you'd like. With that, we are recessed until we get to closed sessions downstairs. Thank you very much.